Introducing a better transport network company, TNC model. Current ride-sharing companies like Uber and Lyft, known as TNCs, deploy drivers inefficiently. They have too many cars in a location at any given time, chasing after too little rides not yet booked. On these TNCs, drivers incur an excessive cost driving around empty, wasting miles and time without pay. Poor compensation to drivers and the excessive costs lead to these TNCs experiencing above 50% driver dropout rates, leading to high driver acquisition and retention costs by these providers. From PhD research, backed by scientific rigor, Uber and Lyft are proven to be statistically the same. The research also revealed that drivers working concurrently for Uber and Lyft, revenue, Y, earned per day may be represented by this equation shown here. Therefore, consider a single point at 150 aggregate loaded miles, x1, with 300 minutes of aggregate loaded trip time, x2. Revenue, Y, would equal $133.02. This translates to more than 11 hours of work at less than $12 per hour rate. The utilization rates, loaded miles relative to total trip miles, including unloaded miles, is only 67%. Time with passengers relative to total trip time, including wait time, is even worse at 44%. Poor time utilization means drivers spend more time waiting than driving, and poor mile utilization means miles driven without a paying passenger is almost half the miles driven with a paying passenger. These inefficiencies leads to high opportunity revenue loss. From the same PhD research, revenue loss is represented by this equation shown here. At the same aggregate, 150 loaded miles, 300 minutes of trip time because of the poor utilization ratios, x3, unloaded miles equals 76.19, and x4, wait time, equals 383.46 minutes. Plugging in these four values into equation yields opportunity revenue of Y0 equals $262.32. This represents a massive revenue loss for a driver of $129.02. Something better is needed. Introducing the Lymousine TNC model, a more efficient TNC approach. With Lymousine, there is a much more efficient utilization of drivers. Cars are placed in a location only when needed. The ratio of drivers to rides is optimally balanced. During off-peak hours, drivers are also utilized for last-mile package deliveries, and during peak hours, riders are optionally pooled. Cars sequenced and routed to ensure more efficient network balancing. Drivers working only for Lymousine, the revenue Y earned per day may be represented by this equation shown here. Therefore, with Lymousine, consider the same aggregate 150 loaded miles, x1, with 300 minutes of aggregate loaded trip time, x2. Revenue Y would equal $143.48, which translates to less than 7 hours of work at more than $20 per hour rate. Over the long term, from an efficiency standpoint, how much better is Lymousine versus Uber and Lyft? More miles driven per day with Lymousine translate into more money for a driver. More time driving for Lymousine per day translate into more money for a driver. Lymousine means better utilization rates, loaded miles relative to total trip miles, including unloaded miles, is now 76%. Time with passengers relative to total trip time, including wait time, has increased significantly to now 73%. These higher efficiencies leads to less opportunity revenue loss. From the same PhD research, revenue loss on Lymousine platform is represented by this equation shown here. At the same aggregate 150 loaded miles, 300 minutes of trip time, because of the better utilization ratios, unloaded miles x3 are now 48.67 and aggregate wait time x4 is now equal to 198.09 minutes. Plugging in these four values into equation yields opportunity revenue of Y0 equals $169.68. This represents a massive improvement in revenue loss on Lymousine for a driver of $26.19. Lymousine better overall metrics yields much better performance for all stakeholders. The Lymousine model is simply a much more efficient model. Is it therefore rational to have so many billions of dollars thrown at all these inefficient TNC operators? Frankly speaking, their inefficiencies are way too overrated. Come join the revolution. Support Zyleck Technologies in building its Lymousine TNC model, the most efficient TNC model on the market today. In the long term, it is better for you in lower prices for consumers, higher wages and lower cost for drivers, better profitability for the industry, and less carbon footprint and traffic congestion for the environment.